it's like a steep hill, and they wanted basically the bus that was driving, like the driver was hired like a crazy person to drive it off the ledge, and like like a lot of people canceled, like half the people that were supposed to go canceled on that trip because they got like tips or something, and the ones that ended up going realized the crazy guy driving is drunk and crazy, so they kind of stopped him. Like there is, I'm not like 100, the person that tells this story is like I'm not 100% sure about all their stories, but it seemed legit with a different bunch of tellings, and it like this kind of reminded me of that in a way. And how much that was a false flag on its own and how much it was supposed to happen, I don't know. But these chain killings, like it goes behind and beyond the Islamic Republic. You kind of have to look at the roots of. I like to see like there's many heads to this hydra, but I like these two heads the most when you want to like kind of reshayabi or like find the roots and go back in history and everything, and that's kind of my thing. One is Fadayan Islam and the other is Fadayan Kha. So basically the left end and the right end, or basically, but not, it's difficult to like align them, but they dance, and like the way they dance and fight each other, and they split back all the way back to the assassins and the assassins themselves with the other Islamic groups that were growing out of Tabaristan, and their fights with the caliphates up until now, the Crusades, and how it mixes world wars, the partition of Ottoman Empire. So it's all like, it seems nonsense, but it's all history that's connected until now. An event that I would say ties this together beautifully, and you can use that as like a staging point to follow the history if you want. I would say the actual event of Qahwetar, which was something that happened in Isfahan between Zebla Sultan, Nasir ad-Din Shah's eldest son, but he wasn't the crown prince because he wasn't born out of a Qajar princess, and he owned Isfahan, and he had his own league of thugs and everything, and he wanted more property and more palaces and everything. And in his infighting to gain more in that sphere, and as like Iran was degrading at that time, that event of him setting up like a coffee meeting with the big heads of Isfahan and slowly killing them off so he could take their property, and the fucked up shit he did behind that, and like how it fed into and all the other events. But I would say like that's a good staging event, and you can follow the people like the Sheikhul Islams, the Qajars themselves. These are just some of the backgrounds and like the bigger people that with like the sawdust and everything that go and with the IRGC. But like this all the way back to the assassins and the crusades, all to Fadayan Islam, which the like one end of Fadayan Islam is like Twitter Parsi related kind of, the other ends are like uh, it's a weird complicated story, but I don't want to like make it too crazy like conspiratorial, but on historical end and on the current end, like with the chain killers and everything, I've got stacks on stacks and stacks. Whether it's current or history, if you want, we can get into it. I just don't want to bore the room or make it too much.
Thank you so much for that. We'll go to Ponte in a moment. If anyone's listening, if you have something to say and you want to speak, please raise your hand. Or if you're not on the panel, please send me a request to be a speaker. Would be happy to have you on. With that, we'll go to Pontea and then we'll go to Mehran after. Pontea?
Thank you. I just wanted to tell to people who are not much familiar with Iran's things that these people who are being killed are have gone for the uh, ceremony of Qasem Soleimani. Qasem Soleimani is one of the most notorious terrorists in the history. And the fact that they support them, some people say that they have to go because of the subsidized food or money or things like that. But I'm telling you, most of them are supporters of Qasem Soleimani and the regime. And if some of them even go to that ceremony to gain economic beneficials, that's not a good way to call them innocent. Because if you know that our country is occupied, it's like Nazi regime in Germany. In Nazi regime occupied other countries and had some people of their own country helping them. So when the Nazis were overthrown, they had no sympathy for those who helped the Nazis. So these are mostly, I'm not saying everyone, but mostly are supporter of this Nazi regime. And believe me, when they were killing our children, our innocent children, literally, I'm calling children, for example, Kian, 8 years old, they were laughing. They had danced over the grave of our innocent people being dead. They had always justified those killing. When they hang an innocent civilian, they gather around there and shout out Allahu Akbar and things like that. They are not normal people. I'm just telling you. Maybe there are few of them that are not just ignorant people, but most of them are the ideological, or some people who are supporting the regime for the benefits of things that goes to them. So not much of sympathy goes for them from me. Just for clarification on that, because that's it. Thank you.
So just to respond, I agree with you mostly. As I don't say innocent as in they didn't do anything. They're obviously brainwashed. To clarify, I had to run away from my own home. Like I was growing up in Iran, I was called kafir. I was like the shit that I was put through to school. I could make everyone in this room cry. So I have no fucking sympathy for any kind of Islamist at all. Any kind of.
And
And I still
Darvish, let
want to,
me
like,
add some.
consider them like sheep brainwashed, but I still consider them people because I've seen that system and the brainwash. Even though they're the people that, like, it's not like I've been done shit by the upper ups too, but I see even the people and the shit that the people do through their eyes because I know what they've like. I consider them my people, even what the shit they've done to me, and it's hard for me to say that because like in some ways I feel like I don't have any people because like one side thinks I'm on the other side because I always try to make a middle ground, and to get there I always have to make it personal, be like, look, this is what's happened to me too. I lost my fucking home.
And
But
Goldie John, let me add something to what I said. Just today, the regime talks in Twitter and in Instagram. They are trying to identify whoever innocent people who has written something about kotlet, which is the Persian food, because it's kind of it's and they are trying to find and put in prison people who says that we don't care about these people who support you. Even for that, they're trying to identify. I've seen hundreds of them, innocent people, children, women. They're identifying them to put in jail just because they say that we don't care. There's some many of them, they didn't even said that we are happy. They just said we don't care because they support you and you are oppressing us, so we don't care. And they're trying to identify them and put them in jail. That's how brutal they are. And if you think that we are heartless, not being sad for them, you are wrong, because they have done so much things. When we lost children, 8 years old, 16 years old, they laughed, they danced, they celebrated, and they went to the streets and helped them to kill these innocent people. So I don't have sympathy for them. Maybe for just for children, there are a few of them. Yeah, I have sympathy for them. They are innocent, but the all fault is going to the regime, to IRGC, and their stupid parents who believe that Qasem Soleimani is someone, a terrorist. They think that they should go and pay respect to that person. Thank you for the mic.
Thank you. Let's go to a new speaker. Let's go to Hangry Can, and then we'll go to Mehran after. Hangry Can?
Hi, Goldie. So I think Mehran's hand was up first. I don't know if you want to follow
Go ahead.
order.
No,
If,
go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Sure.
No, no, it's okay. Go ahead.
Okay.
okay, cool. Okay, so I wanted to have a little bit of back and forth with the speakers, everyone that's got a mic. So, first question I want to ask is, so the attack that happened today in Iran. Now, obviously, IRGC Khomeini has said that it's going to be that this was a American and Israeli agents. I'm gonna guess that everyone on the panel is not it does not see it that way. Like, do you think this is a false flag? Okay.
Yeah,
Um.
the vast majority of Iranians
Yeah.
believe that this was a false flag event because the Islamic regime has a history of initiating false flag events, and we know how to spot it.
Yeah, and I don't doubt that. I'm not fully knowledgeable. I'm from that area, but not from Iran. I also, my family is like Muslims, but I'm not very devout or anything. I don't follow anything. Um, I live in Canada. I'm very pro Canada. I'm very pro West. I like the Western European civilizations, etc. But I do have some suspicions of Western foreign policy, right? Just for example, Western foreign policy when they funded the Taliban and Al Qaeda back in the 70s when they were fighting Russia, right? I mean, there is also a tracked record and history of the CIA and various other intelligence agencies funding all of these terrorist organizations. I want to ask you, why are you so confident that this was not in retaliation to what's happening in Israel, Palestine, and the Houthis, etc.? What specifically gives you such confidence?
Okay, so here's, honest question, not an attack. Hangry can
Hangry Can
man.
Man.
Yeah, hangry can man. When was the last time that Israel bombed innocent Iranian civilians?
Well, it's
When was the last time?
I have no idea. I don't think
Exactly.
it's ever been done.
Exactly. So there's literally never been a single incident where Israel or
Yeah,
the IDF has attacked innocent Iranian civilians. Now, we are well aware of the IDF attacking IRGC terrorists specifically. They
yeah,
did that on December 25th, the most recent example. They turned Musavi into a cutlet, and Iranians were celebrating that,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
But
I have a lot of
when was the last time the IDF bombed innocent Iranian civilians?
you
When
know
was the last time?
I don't think it's ever been done.
Exactly. So
I
it's never been done. No, but that's the answer. It's never been done. So then
well,
how
that's
can but
I
no no
I
no 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 but no 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 but here's the thing. It's never been done. So then how can
mhm.
people come up here and try to blame the state of Israel
I'm not blaming the
for
state of Israel. I'm not
right.
blaming the state of
Okay.
Israel. I'm saying that this is a wartime, right? There is an active war. I mean, there's no doubt that IRGC had a hand in what happened on October 7th. I mean, at least in my mind, I don't think there's any doubt that Khomeini and all of these lunatics and the mullahs etc. got together and
Angry Can Man, I'm gonna ask you a question.
okay,
Innocent question.
yeah.
Are you aware that the state of Israel has a official government of Israel Twitter account in Farsi? Are you aware of that?
Nope.
No. Okay. Are you aware that the IDF, the Israel Defense Force, has an official Twitter account in Farsi? Are you aware of that?
Nope.
Okay, there you go. So, for the majority, the vast majority of Iranians, we're aware of those channels. We follow them.
Mhm.
And the state of Israel has constantly said that the people of Israel and the government of Israel stands with the people of Iran against the IRGC. And there are so many Iranian Jews. Did you know, by the way, Hangry Can Man, that there is a large population of Iranian Jews? Were you
Yeah,
aware of
I
that?
I I
Okay,
know I know some.
great.
I know
Good.
some.
Good. I
Yeah.
know many. Believe me,
Yeah.
I know many. So are you aware that the IDF, like Iranian Jews within the IDF, constantly hold the Iranian lion and sun flag, which is the pro-democracy flag of
Yep.
Iran,
Yep.
and they send messages of solidarity to the people of Iran.
Yep.
Now, when the IDF attacks the Islamic regime in Iran, the terrorists, they will take credit for it because they know they're doing the right thing. They know that they're attacking terrorists. That's what happened on December 25th. And when that happened, Iranians around the world were actually celebrating because they were like, now we have a Christmas present from the IDF. And there were memes about Christmas cutlets on December 25th. So uh, what evidence, like what evidence or what proof or what's out there that you're relying upon to
I'm not.
even like no, but to even make the claim that how do we know this was not Israel,
So
right?
that's
Like
not a
it's
claim.
like, but it's like you're trying to prove. And no,
I'm
this
not
isn't,
trying
no,
to
no, no,
prove.
but this isn't like, no, let me be perfectly clear, this is not an attack on you personally. This
Hmm.
is also for people who are listening.
I
Like
hear you.
anyone who's trying to say, well, how do we know this was not Israel? Okay. They're trying to prove a negative, and that's like a logical fallacy.
Yeah.
Let's not try to prove a negative. Let's try to focus on, okay, what evidence is there that Israel has ever attacked Iranian civilians?
I
Because
can. May I speak?
I don't have a single, I can't even think of a single time where the state of Israel has attacked Iranians.
What? May I
Yes,
speak?
they've attacked
Okay.
IRGC, but have they attacked Iranians? I don't know.
Yeah, so I don't think Israel's ever been in a full blown war with anyone, right? Outside of the outside of Palestine, outside of Egypt and Lebanon, etc. Just based on the history of that area, I don't think Israel directly has done any military action outside of those areas because that's where the conflict is for them, right? And again, I'm not here to be like, oh yeah, this is I'm not trying to cast a doubt on what the claim is that IRGC is, this is a false flag by the IRGC. I have no doubt that because I'm from a Muslim country, I know how corrupt these governments are and how things can be. And again, nothing against Muslims, but my point specifically is this, right? So, for example, before the Shah, who was so the history, right, where Khomeini was able to come in, where the US was removed one of the Shah, before Raza Pahlavi's father, I think that was in the 70s when they removed him through like CIA ops and etc. They removed him and then basically installed a weak leader, right? And then Khomeini and
Yeah,
on.
they no, they got rid of Reza Shah, through
Yeah.
his Shah, by the way, Javid Shah,
Javid
and
Shah.
that was a CIA op.
Yeah.
And they brought in Khomeini
Yeah.
because they thought that they could use him to control Iran, because Reza Shah was nationalizing
Yes.
Iran's assets. Okay,
Exactly.
but what does that have to do?
Yeah. So
Again, you know
my
what? No. But what does that have to do with the current false flag events that are happening
yes.
in Iran?
So so there is a track record of Western interference in Middle Eastern and Central Asian democracies and countries,
Okay,
right?
so what's the
Yeah.
Western interference and what happened today?
Well,
What's
that's
the
my
Western
point.
interference?
That's my point, right? Like how I think I think saying bluntly that this is just a false flag, I think
Are
it's
you
naive.
Iranian?
No, I'm not
Okay,
Iranian.
so then you know what? I appreciate your opinion, but I would say if your comments are based on what you think, this is probably a great opportunity for you to just listen to what Iranians have to say. Because when the Islamic regime in Iran burned down Cinema Rex in 1978, that had nothing to do with the West. When the Islamic regime in Iran in 1994 bombed the Imam Reza shrine in Mashhad and then admitted to it in 1999, that had nothing to do with the West. When the Islamic regime in Iran shot down Ukraine flight PS752
Yeah.
on January 8 in 2020, literally 4 years ago,
I remember
that
that.
had nothing to do with the West. And the
Yeah.
Islamic regime in Iran, by the way, initially, when they shot it down with Russian Tor missiles, they blamed the United States, they blamed Canada, they blamed the West.
Yeah.
And then
I
it was
remember that.
only after social media footage came out by Iranians in Iran to
Yeah.
disprove the official statement of the Islamic regime in Iran that they had to backtrack on it. So
May I
you
make
know what?
one
No,
last
no, no,
comment?
no. I absolutely not. Like,
Oh,
like you can think what you want to think, but I'm telling you respectfully, your thinking is wrong, and it has nothing to do, like what happened today has absolutely nothing to do with the West. And for you to claim that the West had anything to do with this is
I
literally
am not claiming that.
delegitimizing. It's
I didn't
no, no.
claim that. I
Let me
didn't claim
finish.
that.
It's delegitimizing what Iranian people are going through. And, I've been on so many spaces where people are trying to discredit this and trying to say that this was from the West or Israel or separatists or, whoever or ISIS, but this was from the Islamic regime in Iran. That is a fact. This is, this is what they are known for. Iranians know this. And if you want to be an ally for the people of Iran fighting for freedom and democracy, if you want to support pro democracy Iranians who are trying to get rid of the Islamic regime in Iran, you need to stop listening to random analysts or, by the way, the very, very powerful pro Islamic regime lobby group in North America. And I'm talking about NIAC, I'm talking about Trita Parsi, I'm talking about all these people who have been embedded in the high level policy advisors of the Obama administration, the Biden administration, all these people for decades, right? Basically being Islamic regime apologists for decades, decades. And now because of social media, because of Twitter, because of the internet, real Iranians and when I say real Iranians, I'm referring to those Iranians who have lived there and have experienced this. And I'm an Iranian, but I've been in Canada since I was a year old. So 37 years I've been in Canada. I visited Iran several times. I've experienced everything that Iranians in Iran have been going through. But when I say real Iranians, I'm not discrediting anyone who's outside of Iran. But what I really mean is, Iranians who have been there their entire lives, lived experience. Because me, I'm just a voice for the people of Iran. Everything that I say, it's not my personal opinion. I'm just being a voice for the people of Iran because as the Iranian diaspora, it is our responsibility to be their voice. It is our responsibility to put um, our personal opinions aside because if we want to help Iranian people get rid of the Islamic regime, we have one responsibility, and that is to be their voice. So, Hangry Can Man, I'm glad you're here. This is a good opportunity for you to listen with both ears and learn from Iranians about the truth of what's going on. And because they're going to give you the real information, the real story, and that's going to counter everything that you are hearing from the pro-Islamic regime lobby group that has dominated North America for decades. And I'm going to leave it at that. And
Okay.
we'll now go to
May I just
you
say
know
one
what?
thing?
Let's no. I'm done. Let's go to
Okay.
Colby.
Oh, hi, thanks. Just one factual clarification that I felt compelled to come up and offer. The United States did not fund the Taliban because the previous speaker made that allegation. This is not true. This is a very pervasive myth that still exists in many people's minds. The Taliban did not exist as an organized group when the United States was assisting the various Mujahideen factions in Afghanistan fight against the invasion of the USSR. So the United States did not provide assistance to the Taliban or Osama bin Laden. Bin Laden was not in Afghanistan until the mid to late 90s. So that idea that the United States was financing or providing weapons to the Taliban back in the 80s is just not true.
Well, can I jump in real quick? Because Colby, one of the things, and we've talked about this before, But the entire premise that America's playing like this destabilizing role when it comes to the regime. Do you see what Iranians actually argue about? Like our beef when it comes to American foreign policy isn't that. It's that when the regime takes hostages and some of these Western governments reward them with billions of dollars. We're trying to free Iranians from the Islamic Republic, and you guys are releasing tens of billions of dollars. We're trying to delegitimize this regime at the time that it's at its weakest, and you guys are continuing JCPOA negotiations, actually making interim negotiations. So the thing is, you got to look at Iran as a completely isolated situation here, because a lot of times we compare it to all these other things that we know when it comes to Afghanistan or Iraq. But what's happening in Iran is the opposite. Like, go look at what Iranians, we've been on here for months begging. We've been begging our politicians to stop negotiations. We were begging. Our problem isn't that they're going into Iran and destabilizing. Our problem is that when our enemy's on his knees, you guys come up and you give them a helping hand and you continue to let them do what they've been doing. That's I think that's the real difference we have to highlight when we talk about it, because otherwise it always gets caught up in the stereotypical idea of what the US is doing. But in our situation, it's actually like, how about you let us deal with this? When Iranians go on the streets and ask you like to be on their side, be on their side for once. And I think that's really when Goldie was talking about it, she nailed it on everything. It's like that's what our job is, kind of like to just like let Americans know, let Europeans know, just be on the right side, because so often we've been on the wrong side, right? So that's just what I want to say.
That's a really good point. Thank you for clarifying that, Xerxes. Let's go to Ihsan.
Hey everyone, thanks for the opportunity. Just going to point out to a number of facts that especially non-Iranians need to know, which I believe are essential to understand the whole picture, especially for those just joining the conversation in the recent months and stuff. So the first one is. One thing to note is that the Islamic regime is and has been at war with Iran and Iranians for the past 45 years. So events did not just start today, yesterday, 6 months ago, or last year. People in Iran are actually, or better, the Islamic regime has been at war with Iranian people for 45 years. The second point I wanted to bring up is we should know that a terrorist attack must be aiming to achieve something following their attack. For those that are blaming Israel, the question is, what would Israel actually achieve from this? Just targeting random people, no ranking IRGCs, no regime officials, nothing. What is the real achievement for Israel? And then one other point that I wanted to bring up is, which I think it's important, is that people should know what IRGC stand for. To be honest, not a lot of people know that. Especially amongst politicians in Western countries. Like even in Canada, where most of us are right now, you go to the parliament, and Goldie must know this better, and ask them, just randomly ask them what IRGC stand for. Most of them actually, they don't know that. So I'm just going to tell you what IRGC stands for. IRGC stands for Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. Where is Iran in that name? Even the word Iran is missing in their name. So this should be actually telling you a lot about their mission, their vision, and their goals. They don't care about Iran. They don't see Iran as as a normal nation state. They don't look at Iranian people as their own people. What they're looking for is the word ummat, which comes from the Islamic era or history. What they're after is a Shita crescent in the whole region. This is coming from their Shita philosophy. To be honest with you, so a lot of things that you should know before even getting into conversation that helps you is these kind of things that all of us must know. But unfortunately for non-Iranians, a lot of times they jump into conversations without even knowing the history, the religion, the politics, and the geopolitics in the region and everything else, because they follow a anti-Western, anti-imperialism, and anti-Israel agenda. It just allows them to blame Israel or Western democracies in favor of a criminal regime like the Islamic regime in Iran. And the last point that I wanted to bring up is regarding the victims of this attack or incident. I think although those people in my mind are pro IRGC and pro Islamic regime, because we Iranian know what type of people go to these kind of events. But honestly, even these people, they themselves are so to speak, they say that the lambs to the slaughter. So even like the regime killed them to pursue their own agenda. So this regime is facing with or dealing with so many difficulties and so many threats on so many different directions coming from the people of Iran themselves, the region, and the sanctions and everything else, right? So it's easy for the regime and the IRGC to just like Goldie and other speakers bring up the examples. The latest one being the fly PS752. And in the past 1 year, like they've been killing about 1,000 people on the streets of Iran. So it's easy for them to just use civilians as their tokens to follow their agenda and to kind of distract people from their lack of management and everything else that's happening inside Iran. So even economic wise, they are dealing with a lot of difficulties that I think in so many situations, this kind of incidents is gonna just kind of help them to distract people from what's really happening, and then follow their agenda. And in the past couple of months, very last and quick, I'm going to bring up, we've seen from the opposition, especially in the diaspora, that they've been thinking about maybe more closer collaboration with Israel and other foreign nations to help the diaspora and the opposition to fight the Islamic regime. And I think this is also going to help the regime and the IRGC to say that, hey, people of Iran, especially those living inside, see, these are those kind of people that inviting foreign powers and forces to attack our soil, right? We know that this is not true, but they're going to be using that. So I think these kind of things are useful to have in mind when we try to engage in conversations regarding Iran and the whole region there. And yeah, thank you. Thanks.
Thank you for that, Ihsan. Quick question for you. We've never met, correct? Like I've never met you. Is that true?
Uh, we've never met, but I've been following you, and I really love your work.
Oh, no, thank you. I appreciate that. But no, I just want to make a point. So we've never met, but you're an
That's right.
Iranian. You live in Ontario,
That's
and
right.
you
I live
literally
in
have the
London.
same viewpoints as the vast majority of the Iranian diaspora. So this sends a message to everyone, right? Like it's not just me. Like when I'm speaking, it's not just my personal opinion, it's the perspective of millions of Iranians around the world and within Iran. And Ihsan is one of them. And Ihsan, I'm glad, I'm happy that you're in Ontario. I'm happy that you're speaking out because we need more Iranians to rise up and speak out against this Islamofascist terrorism, right? And Ihsan, what's your opinion on, who do you think is responsible for the bombing attack in Kerman today at Qasem Soleimani's grave? Just out of curiosity.
Oh, it's Islamic regime, no doubt, no doubt.
I mean, there you go, right? Like it's not my personal opinion. This is again the vast majority of Iranians
Oh,
believe this because we know it's the truth, because we know our history, we understand our history. And any pro-democracy Iranian who comes up here to speak will agree
well,
100%. So
well, that's correct.
Ihsan,
And then
yeah.
the other thing is, sorry to interrupt, but the other thing is just let's say hypothetically this regime didn't do it, which we all know that they did it, right? Hypothetically, we say that it was a terrorist group. I don't know, like from Pakistan or Afghanistan or whatever, right? It was ISIS, let's say. Okay, who is ultimately responsible to secure the borders? Who is ultimately responsible to secure the people, for security of the people and the country? Is the regime. So why are they blaming everyone else? Well, they actually failed on the very first and the most important thing that they have to do, and they have to answer to people. Where were you? Why did you fail to protect the people of the country? Right? So no matter what, even I'm saying, we know it was the regime, but even if it wasn't the regime, ultimately it's them that are responsible for it. Right?
No, that's a very good point, and that's something that everyone needs to ask themselves. 100%, Ihsan. Thank you for that. Let's go to Sean, and anyone on the stage. If you don't have any comments or more to add, please make yourselves a listener so I can add some more people because I have requests. But if you have something to say, please raise your hands. But let's go to Sean right now.
Thank you, Goldie. So the one thing that I think we should all also keep in mind is that when we're looking at what happened in Kerman, and we also look at the region as well. So the the regime and its proxies are essentially the only ones who are at least showing their support for Hamas, and actively trying to do something in terms of whether it's from the Houthis, ordering Houthis to attack Israeli ships, or having a tit for tat for when it comes to the northern part of Israel. However, the Islamic Republic hasn't gotten the credit from essentially the pro-Hamas, pro-Palestinian side as much as they desired, and I think this is very important because uh, in the past year and a half, yes, the regime still has its lobbyists, NIAC, and yes, they're still operating. However, because of the relentless work and effort by Goldie people, individuals like yourself, Emily, Xerxes, and everyone here in the space, and Iranian in the diaspora in general, the regime, in terms of the information and the propaganda that they're running on, they were running both on social media or media, has been reduced, and so this is a huge threat for the Islamic Republic. And by and trying to convince the pro-Hamas community, especially on social media, to be pro-regime Islamic Republic is a difficult thing, because when you do go on that side of Twitter and you start listening to them, at the end they have this point of view of let's use the Shias and let's take advantage of them, but you can never trust Shias. But if they're gonna let's just use them as while we can, type of view on the Islamic Republic. They're not, and oftentimes when you go on their spaces, when they're talking about the Islamic Republic, they somebody comes out about starts talking about the regime change, and but the conversation dies down quickly. However, by framing this attack in a way that when on the Farsi side, they're saying ISIS, but on the English side, they're trying to play the victim card of an Israeli victim card to kind of get the sympathy of these people. It has nothing to do with everybody else. So the general public. It's those pro Hamas individuals, organizations, and media, because for them regaining some of that control when it comes to their influence in the West, especially in the U.S., is something that would be very important for them. And if they for them, it's just yeah, it plays a huge role, especially for Iranians who are fighting to overthrow them. Because as the more that their influence goes down, the weaker they get when it comes to influencing policies within both Middle East and against them as well. So I think this is something that we should all keep in mind. That on that side of the information warfare that's the target audience, and we're seeing that play out. And it's difficult when let's say you go through your account, because the way social media algorithms work, they create like these bubbles. So you have to have like multiple different accounts following different specific topics to get a full picture of what's actually happening.
Thank you for that. That's a good point. Okay, so I'm just gonna go in these hands in order. Um, Co-hosts, let me know if I don't have the order right, but I have Alex and then Iranian women. So Alex, you want to speak?
Absolutely. Hear me?
Yeah, it's breaking up a lot, brother. Go ahead.
I'm driving. I'm sorry. I'll just be very fast. Wonderful space as always. Good to see you back, Xerxes, John, and Emily, Goldie, June. Wonderful space. We had a space this morning. It was a very interesting perspective. A lot of people said the same tendency that this was an inside job. Someone brought up something very interesting. They wanted to. This regime does this when their head's against the wall, their back's against the wall. And the thing that's so interesting is that the Iraq War, when Saddam invaded, when Khomeini was just taking power, he needed the quote-unquote support of the people. All these killings that happened in the 80s. Well, guess what? Now Khamenei, because most of everybody hates him so much, he's illegitimate. He did this again. He's trying to do the same tendencies, but it's different this time. It's different in the sense that they know that he's a dictator. I mean, before all of this, just go back and look at what his speech he said. He said, "God comes out of my mouth." He said that, and then in Beirut the day before, they did that precision striking, killed those 6 terrorists. I think this is just a playover for them to look like they're still strong in the Middle East. they're doing damage control. And I hate to say it like that, but this is what in the space I had earlier, this is what a lot of people have said. Iranians, Israelis, non Middle Eastern people, they said the same thing. This doesn't look like Israel did it, but they have to have a scapegoat to blame the Jews. And of course, that's the mantra now. And the thing that Raisi said and Khamenei said, they said that they're going to arrest and they're going to take people out. They're going to arrest them and they're going to thwart it with security. They always use that word security when something of this, just like what they do, just like Rex Fire, just like time and time again. So in my opinion, I'll just be very short, is that they're doing damage control right now. They're trying to pretend that they have a handle on this. And for whatever reason, it's always thought of using ISIS-K, and even the U.S. intelligence has said this is what it is. But it's the Islamic regime. We know this. And it's just an inside job. I think that's what people need to understand from this. This was tactful. This was deliberate. I mean, they said it was a cylinder gas explosion. Then they backtracked and they said later that, okay, when casualties started to happen, that this was done by briefcase bombs. Israel doesn't do that. I mean, if you look, this was precision what they did in Beirut. So all my Israeli friends who were in the space this morning said the same thing. This was done by the regime, or this was done deliberately to send a message. And my worry is that this is a power grab, and they did this to kill innocent Iranians or regime, whatever you want to call it. I'm not calling them innocent. I'm just saying the victim is Iranians, and the regime just played cannon fodder with its own people and its own supporters with this funeral procession to do that. So I think we just got to wait and see. But look at what Khamenei is saying. Look at what Raisi is saying. Look at what the Interior Ministry and even the Vice President have all said. They said the same thing, and you just got to read between the lines. They're going to go after and start arresting anybody and have a scapegoat to it. So that's all I have to say. But this is definitely an inside job, and I hate to sound like a tinfoil hat person about this, but we know what this regime has done in the past. This is nothing new, but it's interesting that they did this the day before when these terrorists got killed in Beirut. So that's all I have to say. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And, you're right. Like, these false flag attacks by the Islamic regime, like, they're always connected to something. Like, today, this false flag attack was on the day that Qasem Soleimani was executed by Donald Trump 4 years ago, right? And again, you don't even need to read between the lines. Like, all you need to know is that within Iranian culture, when we're mourning the anniversary of someone who's passed, friends, family, loved ones will be at their grave site, right? Like, Qasem Soleimani, when he was executed, IRGC officials were there to mourn his passing. All those terrorists were there. And yet, today, his family was not at his grave. They were in Tehran, a different city. No IRGC official was there at his grave. It was, innocent Iranians, many who support the IRGC. But again, like, as someone else was saying, and I forget who was saying, but it was a very good point. People who work for the IRGC and their lives literally depend on the IRGC, right? Like, these people rely on food stamps. Like, they have to go to these events in order to get money or food stamps from the IRGC. And this is how the IRGC controls the Iranian people. They keep them impoverished. Like, the over like 70%, over 70% of Iranians live below the international standard of the poverty line in Iran and around the world. Like, they're under the poverty line. Why is that? It's because the IRGC controls civilians through poverty. The same way that Hamas controls Palestinians by holding back UNRWA aid, by holding back the food, the water, the aid that the UN is supposedly trying to give to Palestinians. Hamas terrorists hold that against them. And and where do they learn that behavior from? The IRGC, because the IRGC holds Iranians hostage. Iranian civilians are hostages, and that is the unfortunate truth and the unfortunate reality. Let's go to Iranian women. What would you like to say?
Thank you. Basically, I endorse whatever you and Alex mentioned. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. The attack in the city of Kerman had obviously all the fingerprints of this Iranian regime. That's for sure. And the Islamic regime has 44 years history of killing Iranian people in various aspects and create shahid. Basically, they have their backs on the wall economically, politically, as well as all aspect with the Iranian people especially. And as you can see in the election which they have for 2024, the people already have started saying that they do not want to participate in basically selection, not election, because they select somebody and then, um, if the people just go and drop their vote, definitely they counted for the representative that they have selected themselves, Khamenei has selected. So also we are seeing a lot of riots for pollution, riots in Fulad Ahvaz, and all of the steel workers in Esfahan and Ahvaz, and all of the other, and, people around Iran and all aspect, and basically all of the situation with commodities as well as um, income, lack of any future for the young Iranian people, and there's no basic, and also all of the immigration of the well-educated population. About 5,000 physicians left Iran since last year. So all of these are accumulating, and the regime knows this one. So definitely they try to, with this basically situation, and as Goldie said, um, Qasemi's children, they were in Tehran in a secure place. None of the officials from Iranian regime or IRGC were present at that graveyard. It was just normal Iranian people who went for either free food or food stamp or whatever, because they were giving free foods actually over there. I heard it from somebody in Kerman that most of these people, either they were from villages and they took them by bus, and they said, okay, there are free foods for lunch and dinner, as well as other commodities, coupon, etc. So they went over there. Not necessarily all of them are followers of Soleimani, and definitely they don't like that. The problem is that we have to um, stand against Trita Parsi and Noyak, because Parsi went to Al Jazeera's television, and that's what I wanted to mention here, and was blaming Israel. Israel doesn't attack like this. All of us know that. They are very targeted and very precise, and especially they aim at the top officials of Hamas or Hezbollah or other groups. They don't go among the normal population and put some sort of local bomb against the normal population. We haven't seen that one in Iran, and we haven't seen it anywhere else. And somehow we have to, because he went to Al Jazeera today, I saw a clip from him talking about how Israel or America or what is it, ISIS have um, attacked Iranian in Kerman, which is not true. Thank you. Thank you so much. And I think I said it all, but basically it has fingerprint of this regime. Let's never forget that one. This is next to the Ukrainian plane, This is next to Cinema Rex. This is next to 1,500 innocent Iranian people who were just asking for a for a better future, not bright future at all. Thank you so much, Goldie. I'll let myself down.
Thank you so much for that. Like, that's so important, and I'm glad that you made your point. So thank you for sharing that. Let's go to Framey.
Yes, thank you so much. Yeah. I think there wasn't a statistic today that 83% of people voted that this was works of Iran. So, Jamhuri Islami, I mean. And I think as expatriates, we should kind of pass this point that we all know that JA has done this. And now we need to start thinking, okay, now what's next? What do we have to do now to enforce that all other nations understand this, to kind of get our speakers and speak up and say, okay, now uh, draw the attention, because as long as we try to keep trying to prove that this is the IRGC, we're going to be just kind of like block or stop at that point. We need to pass this point and move forward, and see what else can we do at this point. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. Uh, so I'm just gonna try to get to some hands that haven't been raised, and then we're gonna go to Missy. And before we go to Missy, I will explain who Missy is and her story, because I think it's very important for people to understand. No, 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 don't laugh, Missy. I have a lot of respect for you. I saw the notifications about your question, and it was a very legitimate question. But we're gonna get to you in a moment. But let's go to Mo Hey Daddy first.
Hi, thanks for the mic and thanks for the good space. Actually, it was very much needed, I believe. Uh, what I would like to say, most things are said. I mean, people very sophisticatedly they explain that this has precedent. There are events from 23 years ago, as Goldsai, I think you mentioned it. That they planted bombing in shrine of the 8th Shia
Imam
Imam.
Reza, yeah,
Yeah,
Imam Reza
Imam
Shrine
Reza.
in
Yeah,
Mashhad, yeah,
in
in
Mashhad.
1994.
Yeah, 1990. Yeah, exactly. 23, 24 years ago. And the point is that how did the Iranian nation and the world come to know about it? This is very important. That one of the top security officers, very high level, high rank, admitted on the record that he has managed and orchestrated that event that caused the death of about 30 people and the permanent injury of 300. So this goes very long back. But what I wanted to share was, why is it that the government trying to gain? What is it that the government is trying to gain? Internally, the government is trying. You guys all know Javad Zarif, the previous foreign minister of Islamic regime. You know him. Everybody knows him. 2 months ago, Javad Zarif, less than 2 months ago, Javad Zarif had a speech in Iran, Tehran, and he said towards the people that don't wish for an intervention. Please, please pay attention to what he said. He told the Iranian people, guys, don't wish for an intervention to get rid of this regime, because any attack, any intervention will harm you and not the regime and regime brigards leaders. He said it. The regime is trying to prove Jawad Zarif's point that, hey guys, if something happened, it's you who gets harmed. Though this is 100%, you guys all know there is absolutely no fingerprint of Israel or United States on this event. Israel has been. It's just proven. Ben Telly said it. The previous prime minister of Israel said it on the record. He had published a paper. Which newspaper was it? Was it Wall Street Journal, if I'm not mistaken? That he said, yeah, we have done some action. But those strikes were very precise, to the point that Israel eliminated the top project manager of the nuclear program, while his wife or whoever, the lady who was next to him, didn't even get any injury whatsoever. That's Israel. So this is absolutely nothing to do with Israel. But why the regime execute this plan? Because the regime wants to do a psychological war against the Iranian people, as Jawad Zarif told them, and give them this hint that, guys, you stick with us. We are stick with you. You have no way. Nobody comes to help you. Don't even wish. Don't even think about it. Why is that? Because the regime, as you know, there are statistics have been collected in the past 3 years, multiple sources. You can just Google it up. That says that between 72 up to 80 something percent of Iranian people believe some form of foreign help, assistance, not occupation, assistance is needed in any form to help the Iran revolution to overcome the barriers, because this regime is a super fascist regime, worse than Nazis. I don't remember, at least when I read the history, if Nazi has bombed has planted bomb within the German populations to kill them and blame United States or blame UK or whoever. Even Hitler didn't think of this level of genocide against its own German people. So what I'm saying is that's what they are trying to do within inside. But the lady who spoke before me pointed out very well that why is Nayak all of a sudden activated on this propaganda machine? Nayak is using this event to go abroad and try to say, oh, this regime has supporter, this regime has people who are with him. And why is that? Because this event happened at the point that in 40 days, the date of 22 Bahman, which is the anniversary of that fall of the kingdom, I mean, fall of the monarchy, will occur. So they are trying to use this massacre within 40 days to call people to come to the streets and say, "Oh, we are mourning these 100 so people who have died just today." To send a signal, to the world that, oh, we have supporters. So they are in every level, and Nayak is trying to do that. I mean, just today, beside that Trita Parsi, there is another guy called Vali Nasr. You might have heard him, or you might have read his email that he said, "Oh, Kerman blast is the second Israel attack against IRGC." Oh, what is the first one? Oh, the first one is the assassination of that guy in Syria. So just imagine the level of manipulation that Nayak and Vali Nasr are trying to do. That say, hey, this is the second attempt. Which was the first? The first was the guy who is the head of IRGC in Syria. And why is the regime is going to this level is because the regime knows more than all of us how happy people are that Israel eliminated this guy in Syria and the other 22 or 12 maybe IRGC officers in Syria. So the regime is facing a very angry nation that's happy when they get hit by Israel. And in response, they are they are trying to they are trying to the word skipped my mind. They are trying to
What is it in Farsi? Maybe we can help you.
مرسی پانتا من just I've forgotten it. انتقام بگیرن retaliate.
Revenge. Taking
Get revenge from the people. Retaliate against their own people. Why? Because their own people, we as Iranian, we started supporting Israel by creating a hashtag called Iranians stand with Israel. This is absolutely against the regime. The regime is unhappy. And this is, as Panta Panta said, is a revenge against the Iranian nation. Why? Because the Iranian nation feel very close. They are total harmony with Israel. Thank you. Thanks, Colson.
Goldie, you there?
Thank you, thank you. No, I'm there. Sorry, thank you. So I know I have a lot of hands raised, but I'd love to hear from. Oh, where did he go? I invited him to be a speaker, and it looks like he left.
Right there.
Interesting. But no, let's see if this person comes back. I don't want to say who it was, but let's go to some new hands raised. I want to go to Missy in a moment. Missy, I haven't forgotten about you, but let's go to non-poor. Non-poor, would you like to say a few words?
Sure. It's non-POR.
Sorry, non-POR.
No, it's okay. I was thought I was going to read weird on Twitter, but anyway, I just want to say that this space is great, and I also want to say that I believe what everyone is saying, and just to give you like a little background, very short background on my own history. So I'm Jewish, but I live in the US, but I came here in '81 with my family from the Soviet Union. So my family comes from the Soviet Union. And I think your last speaker said, well, he doesn't know like what type of government would do that. Well, the Soviets would do exactly that. And the stories that I've heard growing up with my grandmother about Stalin and having the horrible things that they've done in that government, where people would just disappear get shot, buried in unmarked graves, taken to gulags, just for speaking out against the government. People who've lived through these kinds of governments, like they understand and they know exactly what you guys are talking about. And I think like the people who are like asking all these questions and being, um, trying to kind of disprove things or come up with an alternate explanation. I think what they don't really understand is that like the people have their hands on the pulse of the government and they understand because they lived with this government and they know the tricks, and it's just like my family did too. They just knew when the government was lying, and so I just want to say that there's a lot of people out there that truly believe what you're saying, and I had a question, and I think I'm a novice. I don't know a lot about Iranian history, but I do know a lot about Soviet history and how when oppressive government, when it's scared, it tries to show force, and when it does things that are drastic because it can see the cracks from within the government, within its own people, slowly forming. And I see like these protests of these brave people standing up against the government, and I could see the cracks forming. And I think with the Soviet Union, nobody knew that it was going to fall until it did. And I'm just wondering, do you see these cracks forming in the Iranian people against the government? And do you think that this could be like the beginnings of a change?
This is a really good question. I would like to go to Dr. David to answer that question. Dr. David, what do you think about the conversation so far? And just to confirm, Dr. David, you're in the United States, correct?
Hello, everybody. Yes, I came to United States in 1974. I was 16 years old. I went to school here and worked at night. Went to school and graduated. I have a bachelor's in civil engineering, a master's MBA, and a doctorate in law. And I've had my own company, and I'm retired right now. And I have written multiple books. One of them is on terrorism, the truth, which you can find on Amazon. I'm not trying to sell the books, but it just let you know of my background. And since I've been retired,
What
I
is your
have
background? Sorry, Dr. David, what's your background?
my background is I just told you I am a licensed civil engineer, licensed contractor, licensed broker, and I have a doctorate in law and a master's in MBA and a bachelor in civil engineering. I graduated from Long Beach,
So you live in
California
the
State
United
University.
States, right?
50 years, 50, for
So
half a
then
century.
why are you celebrating or honoring Qasem Soleimani? Why are you giving
Okay,
condolences to General Soleimani and the victims of the racist Zionist attack on Iran?
okay.
Why?
If you
Shut
allow
up.
me,
No, no,
if you
no, no, no,
allow,
no, no.
oh,
Simple
let me
question.
explain.
Simple
Okay,
question. Why are you living in the United States and you are honoring Qasem Soleimani, who is a literal terrorist? The United States has listed the IRGC as a terrorist organization. You have been living in the United States based on your claims for 50 years. 50 years. You're I assume a United States citizen now. Shame on you, by the way, Bisharaf, and you're honoring the martyrdom of Qasem Soleimani. What's your response to that?
okay. Well, ma'am, see, I'm not here to curse anybody, and I know
I'm not
you're
here to curse
upset.
anyone either. I'm just here to
You're
ask you
cursing me,
why you
Farsi.
support terrorism.
She is
But
Why
let
do
allowed
you
me
to
let me
do
support
so.
let me
terrorism?
explain. Sorry,
Listen,
let me
Bisharaf.
people
explain.
like you,
Bisharaf
raped
Azizim.
our people. People like you raped our people. So
Okay,
she's
let me
right.
explain.
Listen,
Hell,
you're
even
lucky
even a
you're not on the
comment.
Bisharaf
streets. You're lucky you're
Arzesti.
not on the streets.
Okay, even a convict, United States Constitution, I have studied law. United States
I've
Constitution gives
studied
every
law as
citizen,
well. Be
okay,
Sharaf. Be Sharaf. You know what? Thank you. That's all I wanted to do. I brought him up just so I could prove to everyone on stage that there are literal IRGC terrorists who support the terrorist Islamic regime in Iran, and they live in the United States. And this so called Dr. David is one of them. One of them. He comes up here and he started talking, but there are some other spaces and they give them the space to speak. For me, absolutely not. Absolutely not. He literally posted, by the way, I'm pretty sure he deleted that tweet because I screenshotted this. I screenshotted this as soon as he sent me a request and it's up in the nest. I can't find this tweet right now, but I screenshotted it and I recorded it. There you go. He is honoring the martyrdom, quote unquote, of Qasem Soleimani, who is a well known war criminal and terrorist. And he just said that he's been living in the United States for 50 years. Shame on him. Bisharaf. Bisharaf. The blood of the Iranian people are on your hands. You are not a doctor. You are a Bisharaf. And with that, you know what? I want to go to Missy. And Missy, God bless you. Someone, actually, a number of people tagged me on one of your tweets today, and you basically said, you don't know anything about Iran, but you want to know more about Iran and what's going on, and you don't know where to get proper information from. You're an American. God bless your heart. God bless your soul. Thank you for joining the space. You've heard from pro democracy Iranians. You are now literally exposed to an IRGC terrorist sympathizer who, shockingly, horrifyingly lives in the United States. Missy, what do you want to say? Any questions you have for Iranians right now, go for it. We love you. We love Americans. The largest Iranian diaspora is in the United States because Iranians immigrate and escape from the Islamic regime in Iran because they want to live in a free and democratic society. So this is your opportunity to learn and ask questions and understand. Go for it.
Well, hi. I've actually never spoken on a space before, so thank you. Actually, and I was super excited to be invited to speak or ask a question, or just even I was super excited when I came on my phone and saw that this was going on. I was like, "Oh, this is exactly what I've been wanting to know," because so I'm a dairy farmer. I'm literally like I'm a nobody, which and I don't mean it in a bad way. Like I'm happy.
Hey,
Like,
dairy farmers are a big deal.
yes,
So
okay.
Missy, my riding, I represent a very rural riding in Canada, very agricultural. Like dairy farmers, like it's big in my jurisdiction, in my district, and dairy farmers, they're a big deal. I respect them, I support them. So don't say you're a nobody because dairy farmers are a big deal. I know. I've
Well,
tried milking a cow too, and I lost that competition.
well, thank you. And I'm in Wisconsin, so I'm just south of you. Um, so I I've been on a lot of like Israel, just different spaces in the last couple months. And something I was noticing was that every time Iran came up, it got shut down. The whole topic, the speaker immediately just got shut down. And I'm like, well, why? Like because what I know about Iran is what little bit I see on the news, and it's always just bad. It's about the terrorism, about, but I never hear any, and I'm like, I know that there's a huge amount of people that are being treated horribly and unfairly, and I've heard about like the hangings and that kind of stuff, but I never really I never really there's like to get information about Iran and the truth about it is like it's impossible to find. Um because it's so filtered and I don't know why. Because I'm like, well, and so anyway, like at the beginning of this year, I was like, well, my goal for this year is I want to learn about Iran. I'm going to learn like the truth about it, not just what the media, what you know, the government or whatever says. I want to know what's real because I'm actually married to an Indian immigrant, and so I'm so that's actually where that last guy pissed me off because I'm like, dang it, I know what I went through getting my husband here, and I'm like, that scum came here and lives here, and there's so many others that should be here instead of him, and so I guess that's kind of, I mean, that's just me. I don't really have a question as much. It's just, I'm just, I'm, I'm really wanting to learn. And I don't understand the majority of the words that you guys are saying, I don't know, but that's where I want to, I want to learn the truth from the start, not, have to try to filter through all of the garbage. Cause I don't like when you're, the Iranian words and just a lot of the cultural words even are so foreign that it takes a lot to just try to filter through them, to figure out what's true. And so anyway, but this has been extremely like I'm learning so much and I'm so happy to be able to be here and listen to this. So this was like a blessing, a huge blessing to come across this tonight. So I really, really should want to thank you guys for.
Missy, we love you. Thank you for being here. And listen, any questions you have, we would be happy to answer. So, like, what are some words or
Oh,
topics that you don't understand? There are so many people on stage who would love to answer because, like Iranians and Americans were on the same page. Did you
yeah.
actually, Missy, did you actually know that the Islamic regime in Iran has been trying to indoctrinate Iranians for 45 years? Like, they force Iranians to chant death to USA in schools, right?
Like,
Like they've been doing that for 45 years, and Iranians have rejected that. And for years, the Islamic regime in Iran will literally paint the flag of the United States and Israel on the ground because they want Iranians to step over those flags, as a way to disrespect the United States. But Iranian university students in Iran will refuse to walk on the flags, and then they will shame anyone who steps on the flags. Did you know that?
I've heard of something like that.
So I'm going to share a video with you. I'm going to put it in the nest so
Okay.
everyone can see. But you know what? Again, like, this is not an attack on you. Like, I'm so happy you're here because this is what Iranians want. Like, we want to bridge the gap. We want to let people in the West know that we're on the same side. We're one and the same. Like, we're all fighting against terrorism. Like, we're fighting against the Islamic regime in Iran, and we want people in the West, we want Americans, we want Canadians, we want Europeans to know that the Islamic regime does not represent Iranians. So I'm so happy you're here. Please don't hesitate. Anytime you want to speak, just speak, ask your question. There are so many people on the panel who will answer your questions and support you because we need allies like you, Missy. Like,
uh,
you are an ally. We love you. We're happy you're here. You are one of us.
well, thank you. And just to let you all know too, like out in rural America, we 100%, even though we don't know why, but we 100% stand with the people in Iran. Like, like we don't know why we do. That's kind of why I'm here, but we do, and it's like, and we hate what our government is doing because it seems like they're not helping the situation at all in, for the Iranians, by constantly feeding them money. Um, but yeah, just know like the real people in America, the ones outside of the cities, the ones that never are gonna, you're never gonna hear our voices because we actually have to work for a living, and so we don't protest because we have to work. But the majority of Americans, we are like we are 100% with you guys, and like we just don't know what to do and we don't know why we're with you. And so if I can have just a little bit of knowledge that I can spread to all of the people I know that aren't on Twitter or X or whatever, like that would be so beneficial. So thank you.
I'm gonna say something to you in Farsi and then I'll translate it.
Okay.
Aziz dilam, قربونت برم. So what I just said is like my heart, my life for you. Like you are the sweetest person in the world right now.
Oh,
And I can tell you the reason that people are standing up for the people of Iran as opposed to the Islamic regime in Iran is because they recognize that Iranian people are fighting against Islamofascism. They're fighting against Islamic jihadist terrorism, right? Like Iranians are fighting because they want the same Western democratic values that are in the United States. And I'm just going to pass it over to Xerxes because I believe he's somewhere in the West. I don't want to say where, but Xerxes, do you have any comments on this for Missy?
Yeah, first of all, I'm in the car. Sorry, I hope you guys can hear me. But um, Missy, I'm so glad you joined us because we do want more. I do want to talk to more Americans because this is important. When we talk about Iran, a lot of times when we talk about in these spaces, we kind of our values align when it comes to this. I think a few of our friends, I've heard them say in Canada, they say freedom for Iranians and safety for Americans. Right. So I think that's kind of where you see a lot of our like values align. You said something earlier that really interested me. You say you go to a lot of these spaces, and every time the topic of Iran comes up, it gets shut down very quickly. I think what you'll learn very quickly is people don't want people like Goldie in these spaces a lot of times because the people who support these other groups, Hezbollah, the Houthis, Hamas, these groups might sound foreign to you, but this is what we deal with. In the Middle East, there's an abundance of terrorist organizations that are bankrolled by the money that should be going to Iranians who are suffering, who are living under the line of poverty. And these funds are given to these terrorist groups. Well, unfortunately, there's a lot of these people that are very anti-Israel and they support these groups. And they know the day that Iran is freed, the gravy train is over for them. The funding is over for them. So that's why a lot of times you will see us get silenced. They don't want us in those spaces. They don't want Iranians speaking. And so that's what you'll run into. But I'll tell you this much, why you should care is look, the day when we free Iran, I think that America and Iranians were natural partners for each other. We always have been. I say this a lot. People sometimes are shocked, but Iran is the most pro-American country. Just the population. Something is different with the government, of course, but the population itself. Like the day we're free, there's going to be a ton of cooperation there, and I think that's what a lot of people are scared to see. The people who are pro-China, pro-Russia, pro-Hamas, these pro-terrorism, they fear this day. So, naturally, if you're an American who wants freedom, who wants the sovereignty of America, who wants to not get involved in, so much nonsense, well, then I think we need the help of Iranians to free Iran. And you'll find out very quickly how like closely connected we are in these ways. So I hope this isn't the last time you come around. I'm sure Goldie's going to have more of these spaces, but I hope that answers your question a little bit. There's people much more eloquent than me on here that can
oh,
talk to you, but yeah, go
oh,
ahead.
thank you. I was just gonna say, and that what you just actually said was really interesting to me in a way because I think it will help me to weed out like I'll go into a group that I think is aligned with like like they're on Israel's side, they're on Iran's side and stuff like that, and um but then as soon as Iran comes up, like the speaker gets muted and kicked off, and so I think by seeing that it will help me understand, okay, these aren't the people that I want to be aligned with, because I'm assuming that if somebody is really who they're claiming to be, they would be willing to let somebody ask a question about Iran, because that's what it literally is like, as soon as somebody even like mentions Iran, it's boom, they're gone. And I'm like, what is going on? Like, it's a legitimate question. I
Well,
would like to know the answer.
you know what the Yeah, you know what the craziest thing is? I mean, Goldie brought this up earlier too. She's like, this is almost like like these people are monetized based on doing this. Like, you see some of these people who know nothing about Iran, but they speak about it so often. You like some of the keywords you should look out for is like axis of resistance or something. There's people who like traffic in this area. They make money doing this, and like they have actually no idea what's going on, but there's money to be made, so they get involved with talking about it. And yeah, unfortunately, that's they're monetized for doing so. But I think it's our job to call it out. So I think slowly but surely. Look, trust me, I came into learning about Iran, and I made every mistake possible before I got to where I am, and I still have a lot of work to do. So just come along for the ride. Don't be afraid to make mistakes, and we'll go. All of the people here, a lot of them help guide me, and they can do the same for you. So we're all in this together, and I've been to a lot of places in rural America. I've worked in a lot of places in the South, not necessarily the North, but I think you'll come to find out we have a lot of similarities, hopefully.
Yeah,
We
and
do. We have so many similarities. Like Missy, I represent. So I'm an elected official. I represent a very rural part of Canada, full of like dairy farmers, agriculture, cash crop, you name it. Like all agricultural economy is there. And these are people who have no connection with Iran, but they elected me to be their voice as a Canadian, and I'm a proud Canadian, and I will always put Canada first, right? But they also respect the fact that I'm speaking out about the Islamic regime in Iran, because they understand and they realize that, when I'm speaking out about the Islamic regime in Iran, it's not just about what's happening on the other side of the world. Like, we're seeing the influence here in Canada, in the States, in North America, right? Like, we're seeing this Islamo-fascist ideology starting to slowly come into North American culture. And, if you want to learn more, just follow any Iranian who has a lion and sun flag on their profile page, right? Or speaks about the lion and sun flag. Sorry, because those are the pro-democracy Iranians who are fighting to preserve Western democracy and Western values. And I'm going to hand it over to a few other hands that have been raising their hands for a while. And I apologize. Let's go to Thufir. Thufir, your hand is raised. Thufir Havet.
I think it's too fear.
Thufir, yeah. No, okay. Okay, maybe he's not here. We'll go to someone else then. Let's go to Colin.
Okay, thanks, Goldie. It's a pleasure to meet you. Like I've been following Xerxes for a few months ago, and Emily as well. And I've heard the whole uh, how it's happening in Iran, where like the mullahs they took over the country, but like the people are not overwhelmingly like supportive of them and all. And I'm actually from Canada too. I'm from Montreal. And I just had a quick question for you, like, because in Nelson's space you mentioned earlier about how like Canada's kind of accepting pro IRGC Iranians, and I want to know, like, is there like certain tools? Because just real quick, like when I was growing up, I had like Iranian friends, but they had like a really nice lavish lifestyle, like in real life. But on paper, they were like dirt poor, so they were like they qualified like for like breakfast coupons at school. We went to the same high school together. But me with I had a working class father with a stepmom, and by all means, I didn't even qualify for those same food stamps at high school for breakfast, and I was like, fuck, you live like in a richer neighborhood than me. You live like in a nice house and all, but on paper you're just dirt poor and you qualify for that things. So I just see like it's kind of like it seems kind of sketchy. Like this his whole situation is of his parents and whatever. I love the guy, the dude. I have multiple Iranian friends, love them, but it's just like the parents had like a sketchy background. And what can Canada do or the U.S. do to kind of limit those corrupt? I'm not even. I don't even know if they're IRGC supporters, but like they seem pretty corrupt in a different way. But like I feel like in Canada, as soon as you have like a brief of cash and you're willing to immigrate, Canada's just gonna open uh, arms wide open and be like, yeah, come in here. And but like, how could we? Is there a way to fix this, or is there like laws that are being proposed to like limit people that are with such affiliation? And my question is for you or any other people on the panel. To be honest, thank you.
That's a great question. Thank you for asking it. I know that Iranians in Canada have been demanding for 4 years now for the Canadian government, Justin Trudeau, to put the IRGC on the terrorist list, and they refuse to do so. And every time they're asked about it, they cannot give a reasonable response for why they refuse to put the IRGC on the terrorist list. And I don't have an answer for that. I really don't. Like, I don't know why Justin Trudeau refuses to put the IRGC on the terrorist list, even though the IRGC is on the terror list in the United States, right? So, why does Canada still enable the Islamic regime in Iran to operate in Canada, to send their children over, um, you know, let them become international students or, you know, economic immigrants and bring, come here with the blood money of Iranian people? I don't know the answer to that. It's very disconcerting. And I just want to say, Dr. David, I know that you're requesting to become a speaker, but Bisharaf Besus. Bisharaf Arzishi Besus. You're not going to allow to be speak anymore. You tried to make your point. I pointed out your profile, your Twitter, where you were honoring Qasem Soleimani. So Besus Bisharaf Borostanizeto Bokhor, because all you have right now is like, just get as many Sundays as you can while the Islamic regime is still in existence. Bisharaf.
Goldie,
So
can I speak
yeah.
regarding about Colin's response about RGC?
Yes,
Love
absolutely,
to.
Mehran.
Thank
Go
you,
for it.
Goldie. I was been listening. Everyone had some great points. You guys were educating me too. I had so many things to say to Colin. I don't. You know what's the thing with Canadian government and the Justin Trudeau and the Stephen Harper? I'm bringing these two governments up because I'll bring up to Stephen Harper. He did some good things of closing that Iranian embassy in Ottawa in 2011, and but he also put the MEK off the terrorist list in 2012. So, and he also is a paid supporter of the MEK. He goes to their annual July 1st in Paris. He gets around $50,000 to $100,000 a year. You can look it up on documents who gets paid for all these ex politicians to go to the MEK. Um, I think it's because the RGC is in Canada because of money. They have a lot of money that goes through the government, and with Canadian government, they like to look one way, and for you to come in, welcome aboard. We don't care what you've done in your countries. We like it. If you have money, come along. If you have Mackenzie Mac on the $50 bill, come along, please. If you go to Iranian plazas, you see a lot of currency exchange. Why is there a lot of currency exchange when there was less than 10 years ago or before 2009 protests? The last 10 years, all these regimes and their families have been coming to Canada, in America, in England, and a lot of Westerners are not aware what's going on. They're turning a blind eye, unfortunately, until now, because they've been saying this since 1970 of the book of Khomeini when he wrote about the Islamic Republic of the Valiyat Faqih. He wrote exactly what he wanted, and what the RGC is, I think one of you guys said that, is that they're not Iranian. They're all there to protect the revolution and spread it. They want to spread it so much, and then we Iranis know this. We've seen this happening so many times, and I think that's one of the answers. My point is that in RGC history, usually when they have a occur or something that happens, they lead up to something else. Because it lead up to either like a couple years ago during the Soleimani killings, they shot down their own airplane, and they lied to the world for 3 days, and then they got cornered in and said, "Hey, this is your fault," and then they humiliate themselves. Now I'm worried what's going to happen next, the next few days, next few weeks. Will they do some shooting the foot? Will they shoot some missiles and hit some American bases in Syria and Iraq? Will they tell the Houthis attack more U.S. Navy? Will they attack U.S. Navy directly? There's a lot of questions up to air. They have a lot of options, I feel like, but the options are limited because now America has a lot of U.S. aircraft carriers and groups and coalitions in the Red Sea, in the Arabian Sea, in the Persian Gulf, in the Mediterranean Sea off the coast of Israel. So these are the things I'm looking out for. Also, this false flag operation has been done many times. I think everyone here covered it so many times, from Goldie's families in. I'm unfortunate that happened in Abadan in 1983 about the parliament bombing, in 1988 of the thousands of people dying, in 1998 in the train murders in the mountains, in the bus, and all the way till now. Even last year in Shiraz when the bombing was, they always shoot themselves to get more time. And unfortunately, I think somebody here said that us Iranian we don't educate aware the whole world about this. And right now, a lot of Palestinians and the lefters are getting on the regime side narrative and saying this is the Zionist problem, this is Americans' fault. But us Iranians, I think we're doing a better job now, is that we are telling them this is not Israel, this is not America. I think Xerxes said this. Israel targets specific targets. They don't just go out a regular bomb in Kerman. This is very unusual for them. Um, and also, if you look back into, now, I'm looking back in this year how the infrastructure of Iran collapses. It happened in Abu Dhabi with the buildings. Happened a couple years ago in Tehran with the buildings. Next few months or next few years, there'll be more buildings going down, and then the RGC and then the government will bring forces for not people to strike, not people to protest. You have to look at for that too as well, and also with the RGC, I think for the non-Iranians, they've been having assassins across the world. They've been enabling go to countries like France and England and America and kidnapping Iranians and bringing them back to Iran and executing them, or just killing them in their homes. It happened to Shapur Bakhtiria in 1990 in Germany, and it has happened so many times. I think for Goldie and everybody else here, when you put yourself out there, there's very courageous for them to do this. This is very act of honor for everyone who puts themselves out there, because this is a threat for them, because they see us a threat and they like to eliminate us at any means necessary. Um, I think this is why we have to inform everybody. And Goldie, this is a great space to have. And my last thing I gotta say is that don't, the the problem with the U.S. government is that they enable the RGC by sending them money, by having their embassy open, having negotiations, talking to them through Oman, or talk to them directly, Europeans and Asians. If you want this regime to be ended with, help the people, Stop giving them power, stop giving them money, and say, I support Pahlavi as the leading candidate of the Iranian people, and let's decide from there. I'm not saying he will be the constitutional monarchy. I want him to be a agent of the moderator. That's what the world needs to understand. But unfortunately, the world runs on by money, and by money is by oil money, and we're living in a dark time. But right now, I think we're living through history where we're witnessing a shift of power through Islam to Iranians and in our whole region. Um, that's all I gotta say. Thank you, Goldie, for the space so far, and thank you for everyone to listening to me. Everyone's been great.
Thank you, Mehra. I appreciate that. I want to go to Shayan. He's been trying to get on this space for a while. There's been some like internet connection issues. Shayan is an Iranian within Iran, risking his life fighting against the IRGC terrorist organization. And Cheyenne, I want to know what your thoughts are on the bombing in Kerman today and any other thoughts you might have. So please go ahead, Cheyenne. Cheyenne, you might have to like double unmute yourself for a Twitter glitch. Hello? Okay, I can't hear Cheyenne. Cheyenne, if you can mute yourself or unmute yourself. If not, okay, Cheyenne, leave the space and then come back and I will make you a speaker again so that you can speak. Um, please do that, Cheyenne. In the meantime, we'll go to Dear Dear
Yeah, hi
Point.
Goldie. Just a question for you. I mean, I guess this is kind of to the Canadian aspect. So, I'm an American, but I work on Bay Street, and I'm sure you probably know Bay Street quite well. But like, what's the government doing? Because both, like, for example, CIBC and RBC got anti-money laundering fines, which were like $5 million. And so, like, if you're talking, these guys who are allowing the laundering of money and essentially terrorism financing, and you're only fining a bank that made $16 billion, $5 million, it doesn't take away a lot of the incentive, it seems like. And I've done a lot of work personally on tracking like kind of flows from different nations into Iran, and one of the largest contributors to, at least in the Western world, to the Islamic Republic is France. They contribute about 20% of all money that flows into Iran from outside. The next has been Canada, which has contributed around 5%. And so I'm just wondering, like, as a member of the government, and I know the finance minister for the Conservative Party as well. Like, what's kind of the next push that you guys are taking to get this stopped? Because whenever I tell people I work in Canada within the financial industry, they're like, you guys have like a massive money laundry. That, I swear to God, you talk to somebody at Goldman Sachs, you talk to somebody at JP Morgan. That's like the first thing that everybody knows about Canada is that they just don't care about money laundering. Kind of a loaded question, sorry.
I mean, that's a very interesting point, and that's something to bring up with the money laundering people. Like we're talking about the oh gosh, what's it
OSFI,
called?
the regulator.
Yeah, yes. Something to bring up with them because their investigations, and I say this as a former international trade lawyer, so their investigations take years, but it's very thorough. So I would say bring it up with them and give them as much information. And yeah, that's all I can really say on that because again, I'm a provincial politician. Um, I'm not federal. So I have no jurisdiction over money laundering issues. But it's a very good point, and something that people do really need to think about. Sorry, I literally have the hiccups right now, and I can't stop, and it's a little embarrassing. So we'll go to Pontia, and then Sean.
Thank you very much. Actually, I wanted to leave because I'm not feeling very good. Thank you for giving me the opportunity again. I wanted to talk about the psychological warfare that Islamic regime in Iran is playing, and many people here from us Iranian, from the moment something happens, we say that this is either it is Islamic regime or not, and 100%. I'm not even saying 99%. 100% of the time we are right. Iranian dissidents, Iranian against the regime, they are right all the time. That happened multiple times. And that's because we have learned that psychological warfare and the regime is playing with us. I put a document in the on top of the this space. It's in Farsi, but people can use camera Google Translate to understand what I'm saying. I'm gonna explain, but if they wanna say and look at that, that's from a multiple page document leaked from inside the regime. I'm not sure whether it was hacked or leaked, but it was verified by people who are experts in saying that which document is correct or not. This one is verified. It is 13 methods of psychological warfare that the regime does to control people. There are multiple of them that I want to focus on the number 6. Number 6 is they themselves say that we have to sacrifice some of our own to make a human shield and continue the psychological warfare. That's in their own documents, and they have done it multiple times. And we have learned them that the way they do that. For example, you hear multiple aspects of they do one crime and they gain from multiple aspects. For example, that's good for controlling the people. If they want to go on uprising, it's good to have our own supporters gathering around us and thinking of the security. And for example, there is a scenario they have used for years that is called bad and worse. And since they know that people think they are very bad, they are trying to show something worse so as people go and support them. For example, if we are bad, there are some terrorists, so they are even worse. Actually, they are the same terrorists. And these are many aspects to this, and they gain. And that guy who had the background from Russia, I really enjoyed when he said that I believe you guys because we experienced that. And you know that this regime is the puppet of Russia. Khamenei is hand in hand with Putin. Actually, Putin abuses. This guy doesn't care that much, but this is his puppet. So all the intelligence activities they do is according to former KGB. I don't know the name of their new version, I forget, but the Russian intelligence effect. They have a very close connection about the intelligence, all the operations. So if you don't believe some of this you should follow what has happened before in Iran. For example, many of you call the Cinema Rex. That was done by mullahs that now we know that they were working also for KGB. They locked on 400 people in a cinema and fired it up to blame Shah for that. They did Ukrainian plane that you know for 3 days. For 3 days they were denying that they did that, and even the Western media was saying that, oh, we don't know what's that, maybe it's fallen down. Iranians from the first minute they know that it is the regime, and they had facts and reasons for that. Even that happened in Israel when the Hamas attacked their own hospital and blamed Israel. Iranians were the first to call it out and say it is themselves, and it came out true that it was themselves. Every incident, every terror attack, you say Iranians have called it out because that's the very complicated social, psychological warfare that we have lived with, that when we learned it by making so many mistakes and being tricked by them, and then criticizing ourselves and learning how they think. And so that is it. And I want to add something to that about that Canada's policy toward Iran that had come out several times during this conversation. We really, Goldie John, I know that you are not federal, but it's very disappointing that still IRGC is not on the list of the terror in Canada. And that's all because of those liberals that always either they veto the vote, or at this last time they brought up a very stupid alibi that there are some people who have served as obligatory service in IRGC, that I know that it's not that hard to separate them and make exception for them, but it has 1.5 years has passed. They haven't done that, and this is very important and key element for Iranian revolution to be IRGC be on the list, because there are several threats for Iranians being suppressed and oppressed by IRGC, and if you put them in the list, they ties their hands economically and many other ways, and many of them should escape from that because they know that their life is in danger, their money, everything. So that's very crucial for the life of the Iranians going on protest, bravely sacrificing their lives. Please, whoever hears me, do one thing in your whichever country you live. Ask for IRGC to be on the list of the terror. That's the key element for us, and push for them. You can make a leverage by your vote that you can give or not give to them. So please do that, and I'm gonna land my speech here. And I thank you again, Goldie. You are doing amazing job. You are very busy, but you dedicating long time for Iranian people. Love you and kiss you.
درود بر شما عزیزم. Like I do this in my spare time. So like I work so long, but in my spare time, I don't go clubbing, I don't go drinking, even though I could, and nothing wrong with that. I don't go out partying. I use my free time to raise awareness about Iran because I'm like, I don't know, it's something I can do. So, I'm happy to do it. And, you know, what I do is nothing compared to what people in Iran do on a day-to-day basis. Like Iranian people within Iran are literally risking their lives every day, and they are out on the streets, they're protesting. And there are so many Iranians within Iran who come on Twitter Spaces and they speak about what's happening in Iran. And all I can think about is, you know, how, how is it that I am so blessed and so lucky to live in a democratic country like Canada, where I have the opportunity to speak about this, and my heart breaks for people inside Iran who are fighting for the same democratic freedom. And with that, I want to go to Shayan, because Shayan is an Iranian inside of Iran. He is literally risking his life every day. And Shayan, we are here for you. Like everything I say, everything I do is I am just trying to amplify the voices of Iranian people. And that is my goal. Like it's not my personal preference. I know what my personal preference is, but again, like as a human being, my personal preference. But my job as an elected official is to amplify the voices of the majority in Iran. So Shayan, please, I would love to hear from you and what you have to say about what happened today in Kerman and what's been going on inside of the Islamic regime in Iran for years. Please go ahead, Befarma.
Thank you very much, Goldie. Thank you very much for your very beautiful, very helpful, and educational and informative. First and foremost, do you hear me? I'm going to be sure that I'm
We
not
can
talking to
hear
myself.
you. We can hear
Thank you
you
very
loud
much.
and clear.
because I always must be sure that I'm not talking to myself because of the internet connection. And inside Iran, we use VPNs, and VPNs get cut off every now and then. Thank you very much, Goldie, for having these beautiful spaces, informative, educational for Iranians, for non-Iranians. Thank you very much. And what is happening inside Iran? Look, everyone knows inside Iran, the absolute majority of Iranians, we know exactly. We can teach the entire world. Look, it's false flag. It's very simple. This regime executed, killed, murdered their own people. There were people like the agents of Khomeini called Sadegh Qutsadeh, for example. If you watch the videos of the Ayatollah dictator coming to Iran using a Air France plane, inside the plane, there's a guy next to him translating everything that the foreign reporters ask Khomeini. And that guy is called Sadegh Qutsadeh. Sadegh Qutsadeh. Please go Google that name. He was the right arm of the Ayatollah dictator. And there are other guys. I can mention a lot of them. Karim Dasmalchi is another guy. Karim Dasmalchi is the guy that actually chartered the entire plane and paid for all the tickets and insurance and everything of that plane that Khomeini used to come to Iran. And actually, he bought an apartment in Paris for Khomeini to reside in exile. So these guys all of them got executed right after the revolution was done by Khomeini, right after the revolution, all of them. Sadegh Qutsadeh, Karim Dasmalchi, there's a lot of them. So look, there's an old saying, I don't know who said that, but it says that the rogue revolutions always eat their children. Rogue revolutions always eat their children. And Khomeini ate his children alive. You know why? Because this is a mafia regime. They kill their own children. And for example, Mohsen Rezai is another IRGC general. His son, Ahmad Rezai, he was 22 years old when he left Iran to Dubai. In Dubai, he had all the interviews. He said that he is against the regime. He said that he's pro-monarchy. He wants the Shah back in Iran, the Shah's son, the crown prince, and he said that the Islamic Revolution was wrong. He said that his father is a terrorist. He said all the things that we know. He said that this regime is terrorist. He said that the Shah was the founder of modern Iran, and he was lifting Iran up. He was elevating Iran, emancipating Iran, and this and that. And these mullahs are the enemies of Iran. Who said that? The son of the commander of IRGC at a time, who was Mohsen Rezai. And guess what happened to him? Guess what happened to him? Just a few months after that, they abducted Ahmad Rezai from Dubai and using local boats called Lenj, which everyone who is Persian knows what is the meaning. These are local traditional boats used in the Persian Gulf. They called Lenj. These boats are used for hijacking people, for trafficking people. And he got abducted by IRGC and transported back to Iran. And then guess what happened to him? He got assassinated. No one exactly knows what was the detail of his death. There's only a grave of him out there. Just weeks after he denounced the regime. So, who killed Ahmad Rezai? Mohsen Rezai killed Ahmad Rezai, his father, the commander of IRGC. And that's very funny when I go to certain spaces, Western handle of spaces, and these Western people say, "Oh, Cheyenne X, what is the motive of this regime killing its own people?" Are you kidding me? This is not this regime and these people are mafia. They do not operate based on your secular, modern, pro-democracy logic. They do operate based on Islamism. They only care about the Islamic State, and anything which is challenging their power, challenging Islamism, is getting eradicated by them, is getting assassinated and terminated by them, because these people are terrorists. Terrorists do not care about anything except for money and power. That is the mentality of a person who is member of a mafia. This is mafia that we are talking about. So you should not, because whenever you go to, especially Mario's spaces, because Mario always ask questions. So what is the motive? What is the logic? Look, are you kidding me? This regime, do you think that mullahs, clerics, the radical Stone Age medievalist clerics who kill schoolgirls for not wearing headscarves, these people operate based on mathematical logic? These are not Einsteins. These are not sophisticated modern people. They do not give a damn about your modern values. These are terrorists. These are Stone Age people. They worship death. They glorify death. They glorify martyrhood. So you don't know that, and you ask questions. Why you think that mullahs are behind this? Because mullahs confessed that they were behind many false flag operations. Especially Cinema Rex is one of the most famous and most exposed false flag operations of the regime, because even the agents of the regime came up and they confessed that when they put the blame on the Shah's government for Cinema Rex burning, it was just completely bullshit, and the Shah did not do that. The Shah's government did not do that. And guess who did do that? The regime, the Ayatollah Khomeini, because they wanted to put the blame on Shah and utilize and turn the people against the Shah by accusing the Shah of burning its own people in Cinema Rex. So they did a lot of barbaric and massacres like Cinema Rex. And they, according to General Salami, he confessed that they shut down PS752 just because they wanted to prevent war with the US. So he literally said that. That's on tape. That the IRGC commander, General Salami, this fat bald guy, which there is not anything in his brain except for shit. This guy, on tape, he confessed that the shooting down Ukrainian PS752 was a false flag to prevent war with the US, to victimize the regime, to victimize the regime in order to make Trump, to force Trump not attack the Islamic Republic regime. That was the mentality of shooting down Ukrainian flight to prevent Trump from retaliation. So that
John,
is what I'm talking.
the best thing when people say that, I always say that the biggest enemy to the Islamic Republic is the people in Iran. And the biggest threat to the regime itself is the people in Iran. That's why they do all of this stuff.
Absolutely. Look, there are other examples. For example, there's suspicious killings, suspicious deaths of IRGC generals. The Qasem Soleimani of the 80s was this guy, Mohammed Jahan Ara. Go Google this name. He got killed in a suspicious killing in a plane crash, which was very suspicious. You know why? Because there were almost every military commander of Iran in that plane. Every elite commander, especially the army, because the army, everyone knows, because the army was founded by the Shah. So they are historically pro-Shah, because they were founded by the Shah. So they were afraid of the army, committing any coup against the mullahs. The army attempted to commit a coup in 80s, and the coup was not successful, and because it was exposed, and they executed a lot of army commanders. So they were suspicious of the army generals. So, but they couldn't accuse them of anything because they were war heroes. They were fighting Saddam Hussein, protecting the army, protecting the country. So they were champions of people, heroes of people. So they had good image in society. So they could not accuse them of anything and execute them for that. So they, what they did, they assassinated them in suspicious killings. For example, manipulating their planes and then causing the plane to crash and causing them to die. And one of them was Muhammad Jahan Ara. You know why? Because Muhammad Jahan Ara was coming from a family that his brother was a dissident, and his brother was on death row. And he objected. He threatened the regime before his death that they should release his brother. If not, he's going to, go to do stuff and this and that. And he, right after he objected to the executions, he got assassinated in a plane crash. And in that clash, many army generals, many army commanders got assassinated, like Captain Fakouri, General Sattari, and this and that. So the regime killed a lot of its agents. I can mention a lot of them from the IRGC, from army, from this and that. You know why? Because this regime is a mafia. They only want there is a power struggle within the regime, and they only care. There's a Khamenei's gang, and there is Akbar Rafsanjani's gang. These gangs are fighting. There's infighting within the regime, and they are fighting since the beginning for power, over power. Who's gonna be successor to Khamenei? So since the beginning, they were fighting. Since the beginning, when Khomeini was alive, they were fighting for who was going to be successor to Khomeini. And finally, Khamenei took over by all the killings and this and that. So when you come to an Iranian and ask him that, no, it's not possible, it's not false flag. No, the history, too much history, the large history of or thick history of a regime committing false flag operations. Yes, that is the absolute possibility. That is the absolute thing that happened, and no one believes the regime when it comes to Iranians. And that was false flag operation, nothing short and nothing more. And
John,
look,
let me just add something to that, because you got to a very, very important point, because this is why my hand was up to, for everyone to kind of understand, because when we're talking about like the false flag and then the outcome, so right now, I since last time I was speaking, I was just scrolling through that other side of Twitter to kind of see what's happening on the English side. The framing is this, that and this is very important, and this is very important for both non-Iranians as well as Iranians in the diaspora to understand. Right now, the narrative and the target audience for what the Kerman is those people who are brainwashed to think that Israel is indiscriminately killing civilians in Gaza. Because what it is, the way that this is framed is that if Israel is only killing civilians in Gaza, then this is Israel because it is consistent with that mentality, with that way of brainwashing. So those individuals and those pro-Hamas and people who are essentially believing this propaganda, this fits that exact narrative because they frame it in a way that they can understand and they can relate to it easier. The dangers of this is not just the information warfare. The dangers of it is that when we look back at the past year and a half and the big rallies that we had, the Iranian rallies, we had the 55 over 55,000 people in Toronto, over 100,000 people in Berlin, so on and so forth, for many, many months consecutively every week. I remember going there. Now the dangerous is that those peaceful rallies that we had, there were music, there were a lot of mourning, there were a lot of they were beautiful, and many people who remember them remember the events, and there was never any violence. Now those same rallies, if they were to happen now, would become violent, because the people who are now looking at the Islamic Republic as the only supporter that they have for Hamas, as the only country that is actually doing, and they believe this, and these are non-Iranians, that would essentially be the ones saying that if the Islamic Republic falls, then Hamas is going to fall, and then all this so-called quote-unquote axis of resistance fall. So that means that by creating the violence when it comes to the next wave of rallies that we're going to have for the support of people in Iran, these people will turn it into a violent, essentially, clashes that will ultimately result in police being intervening, police, and changing the narrative. Not now. This is a preparation for the future and a contingency plan for the future.
Look, I'm gonna wrap it up because other people want to speak. Look, what is happening? Another evidence of that being somebody's mic is on. Yotaro, please turn off your mic. Look, one of the reasons, one of the major evidence of Kerman blast being a false flag operation is that no IRGC general, no one, literally no one, no mullah was there, no IRGC general was there, and surprisingly, because everyone who understands the Iranian culture and the mourning rituals, because according to the codes, according to the mourning rituals that they actually dictate for the families of the deceased to participate the memorial ceremony. But no one, Qasem Soleimani had a very big family, but no one of them, zero, no one of them was there in the scene in his memorial ceremony. Why is that? You know why? Because they knew in advance. What was going on better than anyone, because IRGC told them not to go there because there's going to be danger, because the IRGC knew in advance. That is the solid evidence. No one can deny. No one. And look, these perpetuators of this false flag operation are not Einsteins. They are doing this, as Sean said, not for me and you. They're doing this for those useful idiots in the West who are marching for Palestine and this and that. But look, we have to expose them as much as we can. We have to, show the evidence. That is our job. And look at this. No one of Soleimani's family was there at the scene. No IRGC general. No mullah. What a surprise. Thank you very much for having me, Goldie. It's a beautiful space and educational, informative. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shayan. Let's go to some new voices. Okay, I will go to Daniel and then Shekhafende.
Hey, Goldie. Thanks for having the space. Very interesting. Just a quick one, to flag for everybody's attention. John Bolton just went on CNN half an hour ago. I posted the video. It's the latest thing. And he floats a few possibilities about who is actually responsible. I also
Can you
posted
share it in the nest as well?
Great.
Thank you, Daniel.
So he dismisses the idea that Israel would do it. As everyone has been saying, it's not their style. He also says it's unlikely that ISIS has the capacity. His first option is vaguely, ambiguously anti-regime elements, but then he does also float the possibility that the quote Ayatollahs themselves could be a quote cynical ploy. to kind of get back at Israel. So it's interesting that this idea that the Ayatollahs, the regime itself, is actually, penetrating the mainstream networks. Obviously, CNN is pretty big. I think everybody within the diaspora understands the malign motives of the regime, but it's good that it's permeating the mainstream. So just wanted to flag that for everybody. I also did post the Treaty Party one on Al Jazeera. For contrast, very interestingly, he does not mention the potential culprit as the regime itself. Obviously, he is echoing his paymasters back in Tehran. But a couple of interesting clips there, but good to see that Bolton is spreading the message.
Well, Daniel, so when we're talking about like anti-regime, when you look at the situation, who would it hurt, and who does it benefit? Because if you're conducting an attack that essentially creates this it gives the excuse for for the regime itself to run the propaganda and to start to kind of justify its position and justify its own actions, as well as its own existence. But if it's an anti-regime, for example, group, then you wouldn't necessarily want them to essentially become their supporters to become stronger, as well as giving them more excuse and more validation of why they should stay in power because of threats that would impose, quote unquote, because that's what they say, the threats that it would impose. And this is what the Islamic Republic is pushing in their media, where they're saying that it is, if the Islamic Republic is not around, ISIS is going to take over. All of this propaganda that we've heard for so many years. So again, whenever we look at any kind of situation, we first look at like who does it benefit in terms of the information itself, not in terms of the action itself, but in terms of who's there to blame, and then who does it hurt. And so at the end of the day, things, especially when you don't have a lot of information, you end up by looking at the the the, the situation on how things can affect certain narratives, then the answer becomes more clear.
Yes, well, Sean, I mean, you're preaching to the choir here, obviously. I'm just kind of flagging for the group's attention the fact that a major public figure on a major network has floated the strong 50-50 possibility that it is the regime. But yes, my personal opinion does align with yours.
Hey, I gotta head out here, so I just want to thank you guys for letting me speak. And also to Dr. David, who I was so impressed with all your credentials. So I was like, wow, this man's amazing. And then I looked at your profile, and you are a complete piece of shit, and I am one of them Zionists that you would like to get rid of. So it was good to know you. All right, thanks, you guys. The rest of y'all have a good night.
Thank you, Missy. I appreciate that. And I think that was a very good learning opportunity for all of the people who are listening right now. And I have to end this because I do have to go to sleep. But we'll give the last word to. Okay, so do have a few speakers. I'm gonna let the ones who haven't spoken speak, and then we'll go to a few last people. So, um, Tino, I know you had your hand raised for a while. Tino, what would you like to say?
Hello, I'm Tino from Sweden. Can you hear me?
Yep, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So, a couple of years ago, Sweden arrested an Iranian guy, a really bad one, actually. And he was
His name is
sentenced
Hamid
to...
Nouri.
Yes, yes. And he was sentenced to life. So, that sentence was confirmed like 2 weeks ago, I think, because he appealed. Now, however, it didn't take long for Iran to find a Swedish citizen in Iran, so they grabbed him, and he is now sentenced to life in Iran. Um, of course, maybe I should say, because they do want to trade him. He is an EU commissioner. And my question is, if you have do want to trade him, he is an EU commissioner. And my question is, if you have